Good afternoon. My name is Ana Bejar, and today I will be presenting the history of mining technologies. So, first of all, we need to have a little context in order to understand the needs and during the different periods of time, and well, this will help us to understand why some technologies were created. So we can understand mining as this extraction of inorganic substances, minerals from natural deposits, including the seas. These natural deposits are known as ores, and they have to uh, to have a sufficient extent in order to guarantee its exploitation. And this is really important because thanks to this activity is how we obtain some materials that can that are used to produce specific products like our cell phone, uh, refrigerators, televisions, uh, even basic tools and many other things that we use on our daily basis. Now, beginning with this time travel, we go back to the prehistoric times where, mining was really rudimentary. People back then uh, only used the minerals or the rock that were found on the shallow ground. They didn't dig or search more deeper than the rocks that they could found on the surface. So the rocks that they used was flint, obsidian, and other rocks that they used to produce their weapons, their tools, the that they needed to for their activities, right? So once the Neolithic revolution came, or in other words, once civilizations were settled, agriculture and growth population provoke the or started to grow the demand of the resources. So basically, they were forced to innovate. They had to have better ways to produce food or to defend their societies. So mining techniques developed a lot during this period, or uh, mineral extraction started to become a real thing, right? So they would use the rocks in order to polish or to shape their tools and weapons. And also these rocks were used to produce the weapons. They were used on the weapons, right? Now, during ancient civilizations, the Mesopotamians, the Egyptians, the Greeks, and the Romans also experienced some changes of the mining techniques. So, well, the first method developed during this period of time was the shaft mining. This is known as it was basically they started to dig um, more deeper to access minerals that weren't accessible before. This is vertically, and adit mining is horizontal. It's basically the excavation of these horizontal tunnels on the side of a hill or a mountain, so they could access there the minerals. And stop mining was this method that um, where they will create open spaces within the mine. Basically, so they would excavate the ore in vertical or horizontal chambers, and they would put some pillars in the ore to extract the materials. And here is where specific mining tools were created. some picks and hammers, ladders and ropes, but they weren't that sophisticated. An important thing during this period of time was water management. They learned how to divert the water from the underground. They would create pumps, channels, or aqueducts that will divert the water and leave free the mine free to extract the materials. Then, during Industrial Revolution, a really valuable uh, resource was starting to get popular. This is the coal. Thanks to the coal is that I think we can thank everything that happened during Industrial Revolution, because well, it would fit the machines. It was really useful to produce energy, so the demand only grew and grew during this period of time. Uh, Mines became bigger during these times thanks to the machinery invented in the Industrial Revolution, like the steam power. Locomotives were beginning to be used to transport the minerals, so you could transport it more in a less period of time. Also, these machines became started to replace animal and human work. We also saw this transition from the wood that I was talking before. The the structures within the mine were more stable because wood and stone were not used anymore. They transitioned to iron and steel, so they were more durable, but not more secure, or not as comfortable as they should be. During the 20th century, we we saw also a boom on mining matter, because there were advanced machinery that uh, allowed the mining to become a global activity. Some of the machinery introduced during this period of time was the rotary drills, front-end loaders, dump trucks, and belt conveyor systems. These There were also high capacity dump trucks, so they could transport large volumes of material. And the material popular during this period of time was copper. Why? Because it's an excellent conductor, electricity conductor. So, well, the the coal transition to electricity was happening during this period of time, um, and machines became more effective, more efficient, and um, and with this, exploitation or the scarcity of resources started to become more visible, because thanks to all these robust and high performance vehicles that were key to for the movement, and this global demand that started to begin during this century, well, the minerals started to run out, and well, environmental impacts also. There were some impacts like contamination of water and soil, landscape degradation, and loss of biodiversity, because also the mining activity was poorly regulated during this period of time, and they use intensive yes, really intensive chemicals, and they weren't really mitigation technologies. So the extraction became was a really known science, but the mitigation prevention of contamination wasn't. This came within the 21st century. Um, Here was a greater globalization of mineral resources. The mining companies started to operate in multiple countries and continents, and they seek uh, minerals through all the world. So it wasn't just like geographical limitations were banished thanks to the globalization. Um, Here is where digitalization and automation and also robotics was integrated to the processes, so they became more and more efficient, and they allowed more and more extraction. But the difference with the 20th century is that sustainability became a priority, right? So um, there were a lot of pressure to acknowledge what's happening with the environment. So the operations and technologies with these matters of with these environmental matters were developed. So uh, nowadays, that is happening now, the 20th century, there is really in an interest on restoring the lands to reduce the water used and the energy, and to use more efficient technologies, right? And so yeah, basically these are there are machines always get better. They keep getting and getting better, but that's like the difference with the centuries, with the past centuries, because even though they learn how to extract more efficiently their resources, they didn't care really much about the the effects that this activity could have. So what are some uh, predictions or some trends for the future mining? What we can expect now? It's like automation gets better. Now we have artificial intelligence, the machine learning, and big data analysis that will keep revolutioning the mining operations. These technologies will enable remote monitoring and control of the operations, um, making them more and more secure, I hope, and also more sustainable. Uh, Renewable energy is expected also for mining. There are some investigation on how to include solar, wind, and hydropower energies to the processes in order to reduce the consumption of fossil fuels. And also, there's this concept of circular economy in mining. Well, what that is also gaining a lot of tractions lately. So it's expected that companies will focus on recycling and reusing the materials like metals that are that came from waste streams, and adopting this closed loop of the processes to minimize the waste that the operations produce and make them more efficient. So this will reduce eventually the environmental impact that mining is having nowadays. So what we can conclude from this investigation and this presentation is that, yeah, mining technologies we can see that there were different needs along the different periods of time that impulse the development of specific technologies for the mining. Depending on what was happening during that period of time, is that people or civilizations develop these technologies. Like, for example, the Industrial Revolution introduced the steam power and the mechanization. Well, thanks to the coal demand, is that these machines started to become more and more popular and, well, uh, to be more developed. So we only hope that for the future this process became more sustainable, that the companies acquire a more responsible uh, way to perform their operations. And well, yeah, that will be everything for my part. Thank you so much for your attention.